G'day guys, I'm back again to put my woodworking skills to the absolute maximum test. I need to find some decent timber. Here's my scrap wall. I've got a few bits of blackwood, some myrtle in there, some jarrah, some spotted gum, a lot of Tasmanian oak. But these boards here are some smelly Tasmanian blackwood. I don't know why it smells, but it does. But anyway, today I'm going to be building a plant stand because I got in a bit of a heated discussion. You know, the heated discussions where it's not quite an argument, but let's face it, the other team was actually arguing with me. And they suggested that I should get some pets. And I said to them, I'm not really keen on having pets inside the house while I'm off at work for 9, 10, 11 hours a day, because what does the pet do all day? It sits there scratching at the door waiting for me to come home, because a pet's best friend is his owner, and if I'm not there, well, he's just there by himself. It seems cruel to me. So then they suggested, well, what about plants inside the house? And I said, well, I've got plenty of plants. I've got flowers outside, I've got bushes outside. There's heaps of plants around here. And they said, no, what about the ones inside? I'm like, inside? Why would I put a plant inside the house? But over time, that suggestion has grown on me, and I started thinking, maybe I should get a plant inside. It might liven up the place. It might make the house look more like a home. Because that's something that I've always struggled with. Like, my house, it's just a house where I exist in. It doesn't really look like a person lives there. It looks like a green ogre lives there, or exists there rather. So I thought to myself, I'll buy a plant and I'll put it on a plant stand, because if I buy something, I have to build something for it in woodworking, right? Because that's what I do. I've got all these machines. I need to put them to use, and I kind of need to create opportunities to use this equipment to create a $20 plant stand. So I got myself some blackwood. I machined it up, got a thickness just right. The thickness and the width doesn't really matter. The length of it, roundabouts. But I do need to cut these two components to fit that bottom dish, because if I make it too small, the bottom dish doesn't fit, obviously. So I've just measured that, add another 10 mil, so I've got 5 mil clearance either side, and should be pretty good, eh? So to join all this together, I could just put a butt joint in there, screw straight through the face and into the end grain, and that would likely be good enough. But you're going to have exposed screws on Tasmanian blackwood. It's an amateur hack move, and I can't possibly bring myself to be an amateur hack on YouTube here, like, even though we all know that I'm a bloody hack. But what I have decided to do is some simple yet effective, easy to set up and produce joinery. I'm just going to use homemade biscuits. So I've got myself a slot cutter. I've set myself up a little fence on the router just to plunge the end grain straight into that slot, which gives me half of the half moon shape. I do the same on the longer legs. I just have to be careful not to roll that forward as I feed that into the cutter there, which is pretty easy. I've got my right hand pressing hard up against the fence, which keeps it nice and square, and then my left hand does all the control and gradually shoves it into the cutter. And then I've got my two half moon shapes to create the biscuit shape. Then all I need to do is get myself a bit of timber, machine it up so it fits tight. Like, I actually want it to fit in here very tight, because I'm basically going to hammer it in. And then I just have to shape the little biscuits. Now, they're actually pretty small. You can see the size on my finger there versus the shape of that biscuit. It's actually really difficult to shape these things. As you can see, I'm sanding it with my edge sander there, sanding a little bit off the timber, a little bit off my fingertips, but I figured it's a lot easier to sand a little bit off my fingertips than what it is to cut a little bit off my fingertips on a bandsaw or a scroll saw, or God help me, a jigsaw if I was dumb enough to try that. Now, to create the plant platform, I've got the two pieces which are going to form an X. I want to create I have no idea what these joints are called anymore. I know a mortise joint and a dovetail joint, but I think this is I'm going to call it a halving joint, because I'm cutting half away and the other half away, which they slot together to create the perfect X. Bong. Perfect. So now I've got most of the joinery done. Well, I've got all of the joinery done, in fact. What I now want to do is add a little bit of style, a little bit of flair. So I'm just going to taper these legs off a little bit. Now, a nice easy way of doing it is I've dropped my jointer in-feed table down by about 2.5 mm, and I've got a stop at the back of it. And so when I lower that timber down on top of it, it lowers just so it hits that very leading edge on the outfeed table, which then puts the timber on a rough angle, about 2.5 mm down. When I push forward, it's going to take 2.5 mm off the surface, giving me the 2.5 mm taper. But I want to get about 5 mm off each side, so I just have to do it twice. You do it the first time, 2.5 mm. You do it the second time, 2.5 mm. You're up to 5 mm. You can keep going. You go 7.5, 10 mm, 12.5, whatever. But if your jointer can handle it, you can put 10 mm in one pass if you can handle it. But my jointer is pretty weak. Now the only problem with doing this is that because as I lower in right now, it's touching the blade right now, and it's putting a little half moon shape just on the point where it touched the timber first. I'll show you right now. It's not the greatest way of putting a taper on it, but it's very quick and it's very easy, and it's very easy to do, right? But it does leave that little bit of defect there. A little bit of sandpaper or a hand plane rips it off straight away. This is just a better view. You can see there's a great big shadow under it on the infeed, and that's just been cut away deeper and deeper and deeper as I push across, so it creates that taper. I like doing the tapers that way. There are other ways of doing tapers on the jointer, which is highly complicated as far as I am concerned. Like, I have to really think about how it all gets done time and time again, but if I do it the way that I've just done it, I just lower the infeed table and I just push it on through and it just works, right? Then I just want to round off these tops like a paddle pop stick or icy pole stick, or I have no idea what the Americans call a... What does an American call a bit of ice cream on a stick? Ice cream on a stick? I have no idea what they call them. I call them paddle pops, because that's an Aussie thing, I think. But either way, I want to rip that corners off, so I use my 80 grit belt on the belt sander there, and it just tears it away as if it's not even there or put in any resistance. And then in order to clean up that edge, once again, just jam it into the side of this belt sander. It's just done, right? I love this belt sander. It's just so convenient. A massive luxury item, but it's so convenient to have because I don't have to mess around with anything. It's just, everything's just push it in there, give it a bit of a swirl, and it's done, right? Now I want to take off these sharp edges because nobody likes sharp edges, so I've got a 1/8 inch roundover or 3 mm roundover bit in there, and this is one of the biggest challenges I give myself on any job. If I can control this at a consistent pressure and a consistent feed speed without ever coming off that cutter while having to zip around and do all this fancy stuff with my hands without cutting my hands, I think I've just hit the lottery by doing that. I really appreciate being able to do these sorts of things. See, I'm not coming off the cutter, I'm trying to maintain even pressure, even feed speed. Obviously, if I put my router bit into a trim router and done it by hand, that's actually the best way of doing it. I don't know, I couldn't find my trim router, I don't know where it is, it's around here somewhere. And if you're wondering why I'm wearing that thing on my elbow, this is probably why. My elbow's stuffed for some reason. I don't know why. I don't really care why. It should fix itself. Otherwise, it'll go with the rest of me at some point. Now the glue up. This glue up was very difficult. The biscuits, they don't really align in the perfect slot. Like you'd think that they just seat in one location, but they don't. They slip and slide. They go all over the place. It's actually really difficult to assemble anything like this. But to create the joinery was very easy. It's just getting it all lined up perfectly. Massive pain in the butt. For a $20 item, which is now worth probably the best part of $600, yeah, it's not the best joinery method, but it was easy to set up. Anyway, we're just about done, so I'm going to play some music, and I'll see you in the next one.